What's going on, people? Welcome to Premzy TV. And it's about that time, people. End of season review. And there's only one guy that I had to call up for this. We don't always agree on everything. Mr. Aftv, Don Robbie. What you telling me, my bro? You good?
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm still a bit depressed from the season. But listen, I still think what it is, we're gonna go away from this season and we're gonna look back and say, you know what? Progress. Arsenal challenged for the league, and we haven't. When was the last time we challenged for the league? Way over 10 years ago. So it's progress, but it's just a pity that we didn't go all the way.
It don't stop man from hitting the bottle though, fam. This is what this club does to you. Do you know what I mean? I know you're probably about 4 or 5 rum bottles down. You know what I'm saying? But
Trust me,
look,
man.
putting all the joking aside, Robbie, look, obviously this season, I'm not going to lie. Obviously, I don't think anybody expected us to be where we are this season, finishing second. But for me, objectives do change during the season. And we put ourselves in a position where we're not chasing Man City down, they're chasing us down. We went out there in January. We brought in experience in the likes of Jorginho, brought in Premier League experience with Trossard, and did buy some cover at centre back. Although we've only seen him of late with Kivior, we actually went out there and recruited. It's just very disappointing. A lot of people are saying that we bottled the league, and in my honest opinion, I look at it one of two ways. I agree. I think we have bottled the league from the position that we've been in. I think you can't really dispute that. But at the same time, like you just touched on a moment ago, I think depending on this window coming up, we can take a step back and look at this season and say, you know what? We could be proud of what the boys have achieved this season, the level that they've taken, get into the Champions League, and now it's time to push on. But I think that all comes down to the transfers in the summer, the players that go out and the players that come in, and what Arteta learns from this season and the mistakes that he has made, because he's not squeaky clean in this demise. I'll be honest with you, Robbie. I want to get your thoughts on the whole season throughout, and what you think the problems were with Arsenal. It might be the Saliba injury. It might be Tomiyasu not being there for cover. Why do you think it fell apart for us?
Yeah, listen, I don't like to use the word bottle because I think bottles when you completely
We've done it, Robbie. That's one thing we're going to disagree on.
bottle for me, when you've bottled something, that's when you've just completely given up, lost your nerve. You know what I mean? I don't think that's the case. I think, in the end, right, there's certain factors that have just gone against us. And one of those has been we don't have the strength in depth that Manchester City have. I've been saying this over and over for about the past couple of weeks. Is City's ability to rotate, not wait for players to get injured, just rotate. So, like we can see the last month, say, for instance, that Saka hasn't been the same Saka that we've seen for 90% of the season. You know what I mean? He's dropped off a couple of percent. Same with players like Ben White. We can see they've dropped off a few levels, right? But we got nobody to rotate those players with. You know what I mean? And Man City do. Man City can turn around and they can say, right, Mahrez, you come in for Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva, chill out. Look at Gundogan, how fresh he looked at the end of the season, right? But for a lot of the season, he was just on the bench. And then they're able to bring him in at the end, fresh as daisies, and look at the impact he had at the business end of the season. So Arsenal really don't have that luxury. And, things sort of conspired against us a bit. Like we had a really, what I thought, a good defence, with Saliba and Gabriel really building a brilliant partnership. And it was really, really going well. And then Saliba, not even, just gets this back injury that, basically from March, keeps him out until the end of the season, and then it's not even like we could have, we could ordinarily and I think this is where Arteta's a little unlucky. Ordinarily, I guess he would have moved Ben White back into that position because he's a right-sided centre-back and put Tomiyasu on the right. But then Tomiyasu even before that, gets injured and he's out for the whole season. And I just think that those injuries in defence really went against us. Thomas Partey dropped off. Probably we should have moved him out of that position a bit earlier and brought Jorginho in a little bit earlier. You know what I mean? So, but it's Manchester City's ability to rotate and to go on these unbelievable runs. I remember when you said to me, you know, this is what City are able to do, and you're right. And if you look at, I look around Europe, and this was another thing I was talking about today. You look around Europe, right, and you look at Napoli. They won their league easily on similar amount of points as Arsenal, and they won it weeks ago. You know, no one near them. Dortmund and Bayern are on similar type of points as what Arsenal are. And, you know, they've taken it down to the last game because, you know, other teams have taken points off of both of them. The same in Spain. I think Barcelona, when they won the league, they was on about just on 80 points or something like that. And the league's done. In this Premier League, when you're up against Manchester City, that's not enough. That's not enough.
I told you, Robbie. I told you after Southampton, these man, they're not going to slip up. But
yeah, and it's, you know, it's very rare that you've got a team that can just like go on an absolutely near perfect run. I mean, they're like, what is it, 15 games unbeaten, and like they've won like 14 of them or something ridiculous like that, you know. So not many teams can do that, and that's what we're up against. And that's why I say, you know, rather than us saying we bottled it, because this is the first time we're sort of going for the league in years and years and years. I think we have to recognise that it was a really difficult task in the end. We were chased down by them experienced team. We're used to doing it. Have won 4 out of the last 5 years in the Premier League, and they've chased down Liverpool and done the same thing in many, many years. You know what I mean? And even that season when Liverpool won the league, one of the things that helped them is that they had no injuries. Van Dijk stayed injury-free. All the key players stayed injury-free all season. So I think, you know, it's like you said, what it is, Mikel Arteta has to learn, and Arsenal as a club has to learn from this and take it that step further. But what I can say is that last year they learned from when we sort of fell away and we didn't get the top 4. I think they learned a lot of valuable lessons from that. So let's hope that they can learn again going into next season. But certainly as well, other teams as well have got to start taking points off of City because they're just beating everybody.
No, I hear that, Robbie. You know? But look, the thing is, there's one thing that I said to you as well when I talked about buttering things up. You know me, I'm very blatant, Robbie. I say it as it is. I love my team a lot. And when I need to criticize, I'll criticize. When I need to back him, I'll back him. Let me ask you something. You've not heard one bad word from me this season about our team. I've only been supporting the team and pushing the team. But when you're 240 odd days on top of the Premier League, yeah, and for 30 games, it's only the last 8 games where we've really fell off. For 30 games, you're looking like you're going to go on and you're going to win the title or take it up until the last day. And then you slowly start seeing the wheels fall off. And psychologically, you start thinking this is the same old Arsenal that we've seen year in, year out over the past.
It's not, though. It's not. And I don't think it's the same old Arsenal. And I hear what you're saying. And, you know, we did fall away towards the end. The pressure, you know, in certain games, you know, I mean, things didn't quite go away. We did sort of, you know, I look at games like Forest at the weekend. The league's done. They know it. Psychologically, it's over. They're just playing for pride in those games. You know what I mean? Once we lost to Manchester City, we were in big trouble.
But do you know what, Robbie? Sorry to interrupt you, because before it goes out my head, because you mentioned it before about Arteta having to learn. Arteta, for me, made so many mistakes in these final 8 games. Like with Saka, you've said it before, he looks tired, he needs to rest, he's playing every single game. When Reece Nelson's been called upon, yeah, he's not put a foot wrong. If anything, he's been scoring, assisting. Why not trust the players that you've got in your squad and let him have a run out? Why not let Kieran Tierney come in when Zinchenko's absolutely just causing?
Possibly. I mean, I agree with you on the Zinchenko one. I would have probably brought Tierney in from a little earlier. But let's not forget, Tierney started that game against West Ham. And it was kind of Tierney's error that led to their equaliser goal. You know what I mean? Because he fell asleep on that one. You know what I mean? I think Reece Nelson is a better player as an impact player. And I think that Saka's our best player. And, you know, really and truly, you've got to have your best player out on the pitch, the guy who's assisted the most goals, double figures in assists and goals, right? If you want to win games, you kind of need him on there. But we just don't have.
But you got to be smart enough, Robbie. You got to be smart enough as a manager to know when a player's not on form. You get
That's
me?
true, but
We're not Premier League managers, but
he
we
wasn't
could see.
he wasn't playing rubbish though. It wasn't just that weren't his electric self like he was at the start of the season. But
I don't know. I think he was missing in a lot of games.
It's still a big gamble. It's easy to say that, but then if he rest him and we lose a game, everybody be like, well, why are you resting Saka for? You know what I mean? But I'm saying the difference with Man City is look at the quality. Mahrez can come in for Bernardo Silva or vice versa. Foden can come in for Grealish.
No, undoubtedly they've got quality.
We don't
Undoubtedly they have got quality, but we got to look at it.
Was it Ake's out, but they bring in Walker. We ain't got that.
All right. So what did Arteta bring in Jorginho for? To give us experience, to give us that extra bit of depth in midfield.
And I said that I think he brought Jorginho in to replace Partey a bit too late. In hindsight, he should have done that a couple of games earlier because you could see that Partey again was a guy running on empty. The Partey that we saw at the start of the season and the middle of the season, 3/4 of the season was excellent. The Partey at the end of the season running on empty. Ben White running on empty. A lot of players sort of, their levels have dropped. And this is where we've got to learn the lesson that next season now we need a better squad. We need a better squad if we're going to challenge for the league.
He's definitely got to learn. He's definitely got to learn, Robbie. Look, we're being nice to Arteta. We're being backing him. But you got but sometimes it takes a bit of brains as well. You get me? Because there was one game where he played Fabio Vieira instead of Jorginho in midfield when Thomas Partey was out injured. Like that made no sense to me. Do you understand what I mean? Like you brought Jorginho in order to be a Partey backup or Partey replacement, but yet you're putting Fabio Vieira in midfield.
Well, no. Fabio Vieira came in to sort of replace Xhaka in that game. It wasn't to replace Partey. So
Xhaka. Yeah, sorry, Xhaka. But Jorginho should have been in that position.
You just said about trusting players. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they paid
Fabio Vieira, bro. If you're not trusting Reece Nelson, there's no chance you should be trusting Fabio Vieira.
Well, exactly, and he didn't work out, and maybe he thought to himself after that I've got to just go with the guys and just hope for hope that they can get me over the line. But the truth of the matter is, right now, the best team in the Premier League is Manchester City. We're not as good as them, right? They beat us home and away. They deserve to win the title, and they've won the title. Right after that, we've been the best team by far. Look at the distance, points-wise, between us and Man United in 3rd place and Newcastle in 4th place. Right, so I think we're going to have to look back and just. I think. Listen, I'm disappointed as you are disappointed, and I think it's so disappointing because we were so close to winning it.
It's gut-wrenching, Robbie. I'm not going to lie.
But to get over the line, when you've got like 10 games left to go and things like that, that's still nearly a third of the season, right? You know what I mean? And that running is where we faltered, and we faltered the previous year, and that's where we've got to have a better squad. Like when we can take out players and you bring somebody in where there's not a big drop-off. I think there's certain areas where there's not a big, like we can bring out, say, for instance, Trossard can come in, even though he didn't play well at the weekend, but Trossard can come in for Martinelli. It's not a massive drop-off. It's just a sort of, they're different, slightly different type of players, but it's not a big drop-off when those players swap out. You know what I mean? But what we've got to do for next season now is improve that squad. So we're, especially with the Champions League coming, so that we've got cover in a lot of these areas, because that's where we lost it. But City are the best team. When you really clock it and when you really analyze it and you see the run that they went on, and in that run, by the way, nobody got close to beating them. That's the frightening thing.
Do you know what, Robbie? We know that from the get-go that City is the most dominant team in England, But best believe there's a lot of Arsenal fans that were giving it for the top of their voices, fully believing. And I understand that because
why not?
Let me finish.
Because we were playing brilliant. We were playing brilliantly.
This is what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying first, Robbie. Yeah, you know what I mean, bro? Because I know this is one of our little not agree to disagree moments. But what I'm saying is we know that City is a better team than us overall. We know that they've got the experience. But when we were there and we were putting our chest out, rightly so, because if you can't put your chest out when you're top of the league, when can you put your chest out? When you're playing fantastic football, when can you do that as a fan? And I back it all the time. But then when it does go wrong for you, you need to take a step back and look at where it has gone wrong, where some of the faults are, and be honest and open and say it. And
That's what I'm
Arteta,
doing.
no, I'm not. This is not for you. I'm just speaking as a whole. And with Arteta, he does need to take some blame for certain things. I think he's done fantastically well this season. I've backed him. I even give him a live apology on Aftv. You've seen it, you know what I mean? But he's still got to take some flack for certain decisions. He's got to take some flack for this is not a quarter of the season. 8 games is not a quarter of a season, Robbie. 30 games in, we were in a very promising position to win the league. The wheels fell off 8
No,
games
but
in.
hold on. When we lost this, what was it? When we lost to Man City, there wasn't 8 games. How many games was left after that?
Yeah, it wasn't. We weren't like 28 games.
That's when. Remember, when we lost to Man City, they moved above us, and that's when we started to be in problems.
But look at this. Right, obviously, we could say that Man City drew yesterday to Brighton, and this can happen because they've already won the league and the motivation's not there. But we should not be conceding goals to Southampton, 3 goals at home. We should not be conceding 2 goals like the Anfield one, Robbie. I'm all right with that because it's Anfield, it's Liverpool, and looking at the bigger picture, things can happen there, and they're not on their day. They can beat any team, Liverpool at Anfield. But West Ham, unacceptable.
Yeah, but it's not Mikel Arteta's fault that we missed the penalty. We should have been. Yeah, I mean, we started off that game, right? I was at the game. We were scintillating, and I was thinking to myself, this could be 4-5. They get 1 back. Then remember, we got a penalty to make it 3-1. We should have put the game out of sight. We missed the penalty. Then after that, we conceded, and it was 2-2.
Saka that missed, weren't he?
It was Saka that missed. Yeah. So some things conspired against us. I think if we win that game 3-1, I mean, I think if we would have beat Liverpool, I think that would have given us so much belief.
Yeah, I'm with you.
We may have gone on and done it, but I think what worked against us really was having to play City twice in the back end of the season. Because if you remember rightly, like the game against City that we should have played earlier on got moved because of was it the World Cup or the
Queen's funeral
and stuff like that. So they were able to start really knowing that if they beat us, they're hunting us down. Where I felt that where I was a bit disappointed is when we lost City at home. So we was actually playing pretty well, and then we gave away that game with errors. We gave away that game with errors, you know what I mean? But then down the stretch now, the Saliba injury I felt was key. It really was key, man. You know what I mean? And we just didn't. It really affected the way we played. And I mean, I just don't think we lose. I just don't think we draw to Southampton if Saliba's playing.
I honestly believe the same thing, Robbie. I think Saliba's injury. I don't like making excuses, but I think he's probably one of the main reasons why we're even in this position in the first place. And
he's been brilliant this season. You see a lot of people doing their teams of the season now, and despite him being out for ages, he's still in it. That partnership between him and Gabriel was going really, really well. We were playing brilliantly away from home. We were conceding sometimes at home, but we were still pretty solid. He allowed us to play high up the pitch. The style of football he was playing, it relied on, him and Gabriel doing their thing at the back. And then when he went out, we tried Rob Holding, didn't really work in. We bought in Kivior. I don't think Kivior was even bought for this season. I think Kivior was bought for next season, and as for cover in that sort of left-sided centre-back position. We had to throw him in on the right-hand side eventually. But as I said, City, their squad, we just have to accept, even though you're right, we have to take, and you can never improve yourself if you don't take responsibility, personal responsibility for things that have gone wrong. So Mikel Arteta has to sit down and look at where it went wrong, look at the mistakes that were made, look at the squad, all those sort of things. Because if you're going to chase down City, right, you need a lot of things to go your way, and you need a good squad because they've got a very, very good side.
But the maddest thing is, Robbie, these have been chasing us down all season, though. They've been chasing us down all season. We actually haven't been chasing them down. That's the maddest thing about it.
True, but they're used to doing it. Chase down Liverpool in seasons gone by, and they're used to doing it literally year in, year out. This is our first time of being up top, or first time of having to chase anyone. Normally, we ain't chasing nothing.
We're just about holding on to tails, bro. This is why it's disappointing.
Normally, like Christmas time, our chances of any top finish is finished. It's
Bro,
over.
Robbie, this
So
is why I'm not losing my shit. You know me, Robbie. I'm the first one to start ready to chop man from the neck. You get me? But
yeah,
I'm smart enough to take a step back, look at the trajectory of the football club as a whole, can see that we're going in the right direction. And I'm happy with that because for me as a fan, and I've said it on my very first interview at West Brom away, I said it, all we want as fans is to go into the next season to know that we're there and thereabouts,
and
that this year it could be our
challenging for the
year.
league.
Yeah, this year it could be our year. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we've got any God-given right to go and win the league because not a single soul has. But as long as we know that we can go in, year out and challenge, I'm happy with that. Now, the thing what I need to see from Arteta this season, because there's going to be a lot of pressure on him this season coming, I want to see a plan B from Arteta because I think we're very predictable, Robbie. And I think in a lot of games, we don't have the ability to change the tactics during the game. So never mind half time, say 20 minutes in, if we're 1-0 down or we're 2-0 down, I don't see the game turning on its head by us managing the game in a different way. I see us just going at it the exact same way all the time. And that's where I think it's different between Arsenal and City. You can see Pep Guardiola playing somebody like John Stones in midfield. He plays people in different positions and tries things out. Or if something's not working, he'll drop back. And we don't see that from Arteta. And I think that's something he has to really improve on next season in order to get higher than where we are, because we can't just be too predictable.
I see it a little bit different. My problem with the team this season and last season and the season before, but this season it improved a lot. But then we saw it again towards the end of the season. We're too easy to score against. Got to tighten up the defensive part of our game. I think that's why we conceded so many goals at home, because we're like, away from home, we're a bit more disciplined. And you saw that we can, up to recent games, we put in good defensive performances.
Yeah,
we're more solid. But at home, too easy to score again. I look at some of the goals we conceded throughout the season, at home in particular. I'm like, they haven't even had to. How many teams scored an absolute worldie against us?
No, I hear that. But once they beat our press, Robbie, once they beat our press, we're open, man.
Sorry?
Said once they beat our press, our first bit of press, then we're open, man. Like,
yeah, I know. That's what we got to tighten up, and I think I think the midfield needs to be a bit more solid. It needs to tighten up a bit. We need strength and depth in that, and and defending as well at the defensive side of things. You know what I mean? I want to see a stronger defense as well. So, the defense to me and the midfield is what in particular, because we scored a lot of goals this season. We score goals, but we've got to tighten up the defensive part of our game. You know what I mean? As I said, too easy sometimes to score against Arsenal. If we can make it that we're very difficult to score against, very difficult to beat, I think we'll have a lot of joy.
We need to see Arteta be ruthless. We need to see Arteta be ruthless this season. Look, let's touch on some summer transfers that we might want to see coming into the club. And I'm going to reel a few names off for you. Let me know if you think you would want him or not for you. Cancelo, first of all.
Cancelo. Listen, he's an absolute top quality player. He costs a lot of money, and then that means we might have to sacrifice other areas. I'd have Cancelo. He's a top quality player.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would. Yeah.
I think with Cancelo, he's a bit of a liability defensively. However, he can play both on the right and the left.
And he can play on the right and the left,
and he could be that inverted fallback, which will suit Arteta right down to the ground in his plan.
I don't see him as the essential key for me, but I'd take him. But I wouldn't be. He's not one big priority. If I'm being honest.
Okay. Gundogan.
I'd take Gundogan. As a free transfer, experienced player, top quality player. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Obviously, Declan Rice and Caicedo, I think that's a no-brainer. Them two players, I think, will definitely have.
I'd love to see Arsenal go out there and get both of them.
Yeah.
Because I just feel that that's what I'm talking about. When you've got those sort of quality players with a lot of energy in front of that midfield who are good going forward, but also good defensively. In Declan Rice's case, leadership qualities, and Caicedo, strong. I think I'd love to see those two signings made. I'd love to see Arsenal get both.
Personally, I'd love to get all three: Rice, Caicedo, and Gundogan.
Well,
Gundogan's on
yeah,
a free.
I'll be more than
And
happy with that.
there's been talks of Thomas Partey leaving the club. There's been links to Italy today, and you know
Yeah,
what? It would be disappointing, Robbie, if Partey left because we could use him as squad depth. But at the same time, he's cracking on a little bit. He's got injury problems.
yeah, but he hasn't had that. You know, I mean, I know he's had injury problems. Not had loads of injury problems this season though.
Yeah, but
And
over his time at the club, it's been a mad thing.
I thought he was excellent at the start of the season. I'd be looking to hold on. You can't let Xhaka and Partey go, in my opinion.
But if you bring three in, Rice, Caicedo, and a Gundogan, I think you can.
Yeah, but I want squad depth. We're in the Champions League next year.
But we'll still have Jorginho. I guess we're triggering
we
his
still have
1 year.
Jorginho, but I still think we want more because we're in the Champions League. And I just want us to have a, you know what I mean, as I said, depth.
But if we do look, we've been in a situation, Robbie, where we've kept players for so long and eventually we've had to pay players off and never really seen a return from any player. Maybe this might be the time to actually get a bit of a return from Thomas Partey, actually make a little bit of money and reinvest that into the squad, because that has been a big problem for us over the years. That's why we couldn't go out and spend. And going into this window, we're probably in the healthiest situation financially that we've been in a very long time. Champions League after 6 years.
Yeah, we've got players we can sell. Yeah, we've got players that we can sell as well. But
also the wage bill, Robbie, the wage bill's low, man.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing, right? See, the middle of the park in modern day football, the midfield is the most important area nowadays, man. If you're playing these sort of high lines and stuff like that, if your midfield is not good enough and gets overrun,
yeah, you win the game in midfield, and if you don't,
I want to have as much quality in there as possible, and I want to have as much strength in players of Declan Rice, Caicedo as possible.
Here's one for you. It's a bit of a wild card because I don't think anyone's going to probably be expecting this person, but this person has been relegated this season. James Ward-Prowse has a bit of squad depth from Southampton.
No,
James Ward-Prowse.
I think James Ward-Prowse, right? Listen, as we know, set pieces, best in the Premier League, corners, stuff like that. But again, where's he going to play? Who are you going to do? I don't know. I just don't think he has enough energy around the park to play in that Arsenal midfield. That's just my personal opinion. I think we could get better, but certainly he's a quality player. But I think we could get better.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just thought I'd throw his name in there.
Yeah, I'd rather somebody like a Madison or somebody like that. You know what I mean? So
I think he's going to Newcastle. To be honest, I think he's on his way to Newcastle.
He has been linked with us today, Madison.
We get linked to everyone, man. We be linked to Mason Mount, man. I'm telling you, I'm not having that. Yeah. I'm not having Mason Mount.
We've been linked with Mason Mount. We've been linked with everybody.
Right, and next one, yeah. This one, I believe we should really go in for, myself personally, if we only got a Rice or a Caicedo, and that would be a Ruben Neves from Wolves. I think he's a top-class player. I think he would fit that Granit Xhaka role right down to the ground. Expert free kick taker, brilliant on set pieces, engine and a half on him, and bagfuls of Premier League experience. He's still young as well.
No, he's quality. I like Ruben Neves. And yeah, it's not a bad shout. I do think he wants to sort of go Barcelona or something. I reckon he'll be sold this summer as well. Yeah. We know that Wolves have got a lot of financial problems. So, yeah, good shout, good player.
Because we have to look at these kind of players. They need a bit of respect, and I think we could add a few of these to the midfield. Like you said, we're going to need numbers now because Champions League football is very important that we don't just go in there to make up numbers and get spanked in 10-2 from Bayern Munich again. I'm not looking for. I'm not looking forward to that. So look, next position for me, Robbie. I know we brought Jesus in, but we need another striker, in my opinion.
I agree.
And that striker, I think Arteta needs to be ruthless, say to Jesus, look, you need to play out on the right wing. You and Saka battle it out for the right wing. Trossard, Martinelli battle it out for the left wing and go and bring in. For me, if we're serious, go and bring in Osimhen. Go and get him over the line. Bring in him, you get me? Because it's not like we're broke, Robbie. We're not broke, we're not a broke team.
I think the Osimhen thing, listen, I love Osimhen, but how much is that's going to cost? Mega's amount of money. you've got to persuade him to come as well, because I'm sure if he is up for sale, he can go anywhere he wants. And I'm hearing that Napoli are saying not for sale. Not for sale at any prices, apparently, like what they're saying regarding Osimhen. But certainly, yeah, listen, I think when you look at what City have got in Haaland, when I look around world football at the moment, the next best striker is, to me, Osimhen, who's got everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's quick, he's good in the air, he's a threat at all times, he scores goals, and I think he'd score a lot of goals in the Premier League. So I'd love somebody. I agree with you. I'd love that. It's
He could be our next Canu,
I
can't
heard
he?
175 million quoted for him. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
They're taking the
You
piss.
know?
That's not happening.
The thing is
Like,
about it, right? The thing is with a lot of these, a lot of signings, right, is that let's also remember that a lot of excellent signings that we've made have not been 100 and odd million or whatever. They've been like somebody like Odegaard, 30 million. What a signing that's been. You know what I mean? So I want us to be, you know what I mean? I think we've got to trust what they've done. They've made some very shrewd and smart signings.
yeah,
In players that now you look at how much would Odegaard be worth now? He just scored 15 goals from midfield. That's more than any other midfielder in the Premier League this season. So I think Arsenal got to be smart. You either go big, like you said, with the Osimhen or something like that, or you go smart and you find that next gem, like what Napoli did when they signed. I mean, they did pay a lot of money for Osimhen, by the way. I think they paid about 50 million for him when they signed him for LYLE.
But do you know what, though, Robbie?
Who's the next Osimhen? Maybe that's what Arsenal have to look for.
Do you know what? I think it's time for us to do something different. I think we've made a lot of shrewd signings. We've been smart. A lot of the players like Ramsdale, Ben White that we brought in for big money, Tomiyasu, all these that we didn't have a clue why Arteta's spending money on him. They have come good. I think the only one I would say probably hasn't come really good yet is a Fabio Vieira and a Sambi Lokonga. I don't think he's really hit the ground running. But other than that, we got to give him credit, and we got to take time and look back and say, look, we trust you. But now I think this is very much like the Liverpool season where they had the foundation, they had the base, and they went out there and brought the Alisson, the Fabinho, and brought the Van Dijk, and then it changed on its head. I think that's the time for us.
To be fair, they're looking at Declan Rice, isn't it? And that's not going to be cheap. That's going to be a lot of money for somebody. I mean, it's a proven midfielder.
I'll be honest, I prefer Caicedo than Rice, in my honest opinion. I think his ceiling's higher. I think he's unbelievable, versatile. Can play. Look what he done against us at right back, Robbie. Yeah, it's a mad thing. It's a mad thing.
Is his ceiling higher?
Yeah, he's 21 years of age.
Declan Rice's ceiling is high. He's English. I know the English tax and all that. He's an international. You know what I mean? He does it at international level. He does it at club level. You speak to West Ham fans, they all say that he's the best player ever to come out of their academy, is what a lot of them say. You know what I mean? And that's including players like Rio Ferdinand and people like that. So I think his ceiling's very high as well. I really like Declan Rice. And I think he'd bring leadership qualities as well to that midfield. As I said, I'd love to get both.
Yeah, but, I think that he's a great player. He is a great player, but I think with Caicedo,
if it's down to one player,
he's the next Kante, Robbie. He's the next Kante. Believe me, I'm telling you, he's that guy.
He is quality. He's top quality. He's top quality, but I don't know. I think Declan Rice brings a little bit more. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I'd be happy with either or, but because I think there's going to be a lot of teams after them two particular players.
Both, man. I mean,
if we're serious, we're getting both. If we're serious, we'll get both.
Yeah.
One last player now before we just move on to the Champions League and what we expect next season. This is a bit of a wild one, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin, would you take him at Arsenal as a big man? Do you not think Arteta could get the best out of him? And do you not think in a better team, you would see a good Dominic Calvert-Lewin? Because look at what he was doing under Ancelotti, man.
Always injured. No, you can't. And he's very unlucky. But a player like that, you don't touch. Always injured, man.
Is he injured because he's got a man like Tarkowski snapping him in training or what? Do you know what I mean? You know what Everton are like and how they
even the last game I saw, was it Wolves last week? You know, obviously Everton got a massive game at the weekend. He limped off of that. I think he's out for that. He's been injured like literally the whole season. Right, if he's fit, he's a right handful. I'll tell you that. Good player, but always injured, man. Don't
But look at
touch.
that though, Robbie. We had Robin van Persie. He was injured for probably 80% of his career at Arsenal. Then the last 2 seasons, he didn't get injured once, and he was just an absolute machine. And then moved to
True,
United and
bro.
won the league.
True. But we don't need no more injury-prone players, man. Sorry, we've got Partey, we've got various. We've had
Well,
Tierney.
he's injury prone now, is he?
No, but
What
I'm
years
saying
can
he
he
has
do?
been over the years, hasn't he? He's been injury-prone. Tierney, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Now Saliba is back to. We don't need no more. Tomiyasu's looking like an injury-prone player at the moment. No, we don't need no more. We want someone who's going to come in and be fit the whole season. You know what I
You
mean?
know what?
I
Saliba's
mean,
back
Declan
problem
Rice. I
because
think
he's carrying the defense on his back. That's why he's
Declan
got
Rice
back
had some
problems.
sort of record where he played like last season. He played every minute of every single game for West Ham, and in this season he's played every minute up until I think the game when they played Man City, when they just basically rested him because they knew that they had that European game coming up. So I want players that we can't be getting players who've got a bad injury record.
Say no
No,
more. But what
no.
touching on I think he be a good round. I don't know podcast on James English podcast. He done a interview with Bill Gardner, if you know who he is. He's the old school West Ham hooligan from back in the day. And he said that he knows his family and him personally, and he was saying that he's very down to earth, very humble, and a good lad, and his personality is top notch. So maybe we get Declan Rice beyond the football that Arteta does look to bring, like we've seen Ramsdale. Nobody sees congratulations to him. He signed a new congratulations, Osaka, now our high player at 200k. But next season, Rob, 2024 Champions League, big pressure, not being in it for 6 years, big pressure games every week. How do you think we're going to handle with that? Because I'm not going to lie, Robbie, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm proud and I'm excited of what the boys can give us because of what I've seen this season. But I am nervous, man. I got PTSD from all these years being in the Champions League getting snapped up.
Well, I think the one thing I would say, we're going to have a better team in the Champions League than we did in previous times. But let's be real. We were especially towards the end of Arsene Wenger's reign when we was in the Champions League. Did you ever look at the teams that we had and think, yeah, that team could win it? No chance. We didn't have enough quality. We didn't have enough good players in the team. I think this time around, especially if they make some good signings in the summer, I think we're going to have some good players where we can do well in the Champions League. I really do. It's going to be interesting to see how we handle it because it's a lot different to the Europa League. You can't be playing kids and stuff like that. Even in the early rounds, you've got to go for it right from the beginning. You've got to have a strong team from game one. You know what I mean? So that's going to be how we cope with that. You know what I mean? And this is why it's absolutely essential this summer that the squad depth. That's why I'd get Caicedo and Rice. Because you could say, Rice, you play on Tuesday, Wednesday night. Caicedo, you come in at the weekend possibly. You know what I mean? We've got to have that strength in depth because I'm looking at it and I'm like, we need strength in depth in all areas because that's going to take a lot out of us. We've not been in it for a long time, and it's going to take a lot out of us. But when I look at some of the teams that did well this season, like say for instance, you look at like an AC Milan,
the dead
got
teams,
to the semi-final. I watch them play. I'm like, we've got a much better team than them, but they've got the experience of playing in it, and that's going to be the one thing that we're going to lack is that. Despite previously up until the last 6 years, we were always in it. We haven't been in it now for 6 seasons. Mikel Arteta's never been in it, even though he's been there with City. So it's going to be a new experience for us. So I don't want people to have over expectations, but certainly when I look around some of the teams that are in it, I'm like, there's a lot of teams I've seen that we can beat those teams.
No,
so
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Not good enough to win it. But certainly, I think we're going to make a good fist of it. I really do. But it all depends on what we do in the summer. The summer is critical, and they have to remember and bear that in mind. That it's not just the league; it's the Champions League, and it's a different dynamic completely.
Now, you know what, though, Robbie?
Europa League is. Let's be real. Europa League is a load of rubbish until you get down to the business end. When you've got to start, you can play, Arsenal can play whoever they want against Zurich, FC Zurich. But if you're in the Champions League and you draw Dortmund in the first round.
Bro, we're in pot 3, you know, Robbie. We're going to be up against some big boys right from the group.
I'm hearing it could be pot 2.
Yeah, that's this. If
yeah, but even if you're in pot
Juventus,
2,
isn't it? If they got their strip or their ban or something like that.
But even if you're in pot 2, you know what I mean? Even in you got pot 3 teams and 4 teams, they're good.
Yeah, but this is it. But it could also be a benefit. It could be a benefit that we've not been in it for so long. It could be a novelty. We can go in, be fair, like have no fear, and just literally go for it. It could be a benefit.
You know what? And also, I think where it could be a benefit is that we're going to be a bit of an unknown quantity to a lot of teams.
Mm.
I mean, they've not really played Arsenal. I mean, they played Chelsea. They know what to expect. They've played, you know, City, but they're not going to know what to expect from so
Well, if we turn up to like we did against Sporting Lisbon, yeah, then it's a mad thing, fam. That's all.
Yeah, but I don't think I think we'll do better against it. Like again, Sporting Lisbon, the first leg, we rested the players.
Yeah,
we wouldn't be doing that in the Champions League. You can't.
No, definitely.
The only time you see people resting players in the Champions League is when they've already qualified for the group stages. That's it. So it's a different competition completely. I think if we're playing Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League, I think we'd have went through because we would have probably went over there and won the first leg and then got the job done in the second one. But you know, even the second leg, we rested a few players. We didn't go. It was a stronger team than I was expecting. But Champions League is different, man. Champions League, you have to treat that the same as you treat the Premier League. You've got to go strong. Sometimes
I'm not gonna lie, I was vexed that he didn't go strong in the Europa League because we've been in it for so many years and it's embarrassing that we're not running, Robbie. I'm telling you now, it's embarrassing.
Again, and this is why we've got to strengthen this summer because we didn't even have a squad good enough to fight on all those different fronts.
No, we definitely need to.
If we would have won that,
Robbie, you need to donate some dough to the club, fam. That's what you need to do, Don Robbie. You'll get the checkbook out, Go get the checkbook out, yo.
I'll tell you what, right? Like, even when you check it out and you think, had we have beaten Sporting Lisbon, then we would have had like what? Juventus. Then we would have.
I think we would have done them.
They ain't got the squad. We ain't. Yeah, I think we can do them in a one-off game and. We can do them after 2 legs if we've got our strongest team. But then what happens at the weekend? We would just ain't lot this season. We've just not had the squad to fight on all them fronts.
Or the experience.
What we've got to address in the summer now
as well.
That's why you get both. You get Caicedo and Rice.
Yeah, and they can both play together as well.
And I keep Partey and I'd have Jorginho because you need strength.
Ideally, I would keep Partey. I wouldn't get rid of him. I'm just throwing the question out there.
Like, I keep Tierney as well.
The value. You know definitely keep Tierney.
Yeah, we need quality. We need quality, and we need a lot of it. It's not the Europa League. It's the Champions League. It's a different thing, man. Different thing entirely.
Have you heard about that bid that we have allegedly put in for that Galatasaray right back? I don't even know.
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that.
I don't know if that's got serious legs on it, but
for me, again, I don't really know nothing about him. But again, that'd be one of those signings where I'll put down to I have to trust it.
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, we need strength and depth, man. This the Champions League is serious.
We'll bring in 5-6 players, Robbie. That's what I think we're gonna do. That's what I think we're gonna do.
I also do think we're gonna get rid of a load of players as well. Though I do think a lot of players. Obviously, we know Xhaka's going, so I do think a lot of players are going to be moving on. So we're going to need to bring in a lot of players.
Yeah, we're going to bring in.
We need some of those players need to have experience, and some of those players need to be, you know, and no players that are injury prone because we're going to have a lot of games.
Do you think that the end of the season, Robbie, of how it's kind of panned out, is going to have a mental impact on these crop of players now? Because it could go either one of two ways, really. It could spark them on and push them on to be more hungry, or it can kind of make them feel like they're not good enough. And over the last couple of games, getting battered by Brighton and battered by
I don't think so. I think it's going to spark them. I think it's going to spark them on to say, right, next season we need to do better. But the trick about it is you've got to refresh. You've got to bring in a couple of people into that squad that gives it again that little, you know, like at the start of the season when Jesus and Zinchenko came in and it gave that little spark. And you know what I mean? I think we need a couple of signings like that again brings that. That's why I think Declan Rice, Caicedo, the players of that ilk would bring that, like where people are like excited again. The players are excited. Yeah, man, we've got a better squad now. Come on. You know what I mean? So
you know
That's
what?
in, signings are important
Do
this
you know
summer.
what
They
else he
really
needs to
are.
do, Robbie? He needs to trade that dog in, yeah, for 22 pit bulls and slap some meat on every player, yeah, and let them go. That's what he needs to do. That's what kind of training I want to see. You know what I mean? I
Oh,
don't
this
want to see
dog,
no
man. I
friendly
don't know
dog.
about this dog
I
thing, you
want to
know.
see some pit bulls running after man. That's how you know, man, that you're getting the best out of him. But finally, before we wrap it up, Robbie, it's been great to have you on. People, make sure you smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're new. Finally, Arteta, if he doesn't win a cup competition next year, he doesn't go far in the Champions League, and we're struggling to make top four, what's your stance on him? Keep him or sack him?
Well, listen, if all of those things, it would have been a very bad season, wouldn't it?
Hmm.
And then if you have a very bad season and you're at a top club, your job's under threat. It is what it is, man. You know what I mean? So,
Sack or
um,
keep, Robbie? Give me what
well,
you do.
if all those things, what you just described there is a poor season, and I don't think he's now a victim. Then he'd be a victim of his own success because he set the bar high now.
Yeah, so there's
The
pressures on now.
challenge, whether people think we bottled it or we dropped off or whatever, we had a good season where we challenged for the league. Most Arsenal fans that I've been speaking to, they're expecting that again next season, right? And to even go on and win it. So I don't think you can afford to have what you're just describing there, struggling for things. Yeah, it's the Premier League is difficult.
But it is likely to happen though, Robbie. Even though we've done really well this season, other teams are going to strengthen.
Yeah, you know what
Champions
as well,
League,
and
it could
I keep
happen.
yeah, I keep it. One of the things that's really pissed me off, right, is what I keep hearing is when people say, "Oh yeah, but almost like yeah,
We're not going to
this was
strengthen as
your
well.
this was your chance." You like as if to say we'll never have a chance
Mm.
again to win the league. Why not? Right? I think I look on
It's
it, right?
been 19 years, fam. You get me?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it
but
is not going to be looking rosy.
I'm saying that people are saying, well, this team's going to strengthen, and that was what we're not going to strengthen as well.
Mm.
And we have been, we were the closest team. We were the only team really that mounted the challenge this season. Now I look on it and I say to myself, yeah, um, Liverpool, I think will be a lot better next season. They've had a horror season in which they haven't got into the Champions League. Although, by the way, they have had seasons like this before.
Yeah.
They had a season like before where they just picked Leicester and got scraped into the top four. Let's not forget that as well, right? But Liverpool, I think, will be a much better team next season. United, I think will be a better team next season. So Newcastle are up there. How will Newcastle cope with the pressures of European football? Remember, they had no European football last year. That's a lot of people are forgetting. They're going to have that now. They've not, as a club, had that before. So we don't know how they're going to cope with that, right?
But I think the one thing we can safely say about Newcastle, now they're in the Champions League, better players will be attracted to them.
Better players will come in, but they've not had better players, of course, will come in and they could have a great season, but they've never been in this situation. Well, apart from when back in the days of Kevin Keegan, they've not been in this situation with the pressures of Champions League and Premier League. So a bit like us, we're going to have to see how they get on with that. And I don't think Tottenham are going to do nothing next season. They haven't got a manager. Nobody wants to go to their club right now.
They're fighting to stay up them next season.
Harry Kane, we don't know what's going to happen with him in the summer. Even if he stays, he'll probably just, take his contract to the end of the season and walk away, right? So I don't think they're going to do. Chelsea are an absolute mess. I don't care if Pochettino comes in. I don't think that's an easy thing to solve overnight. That's going to take Chelsea a little bit to get back. So listen, the Premier League now is very competitive when you look below Man City, that is.
Unai Emery, man. Unai Emery, look what he's doing.
Unai Emery, De Zerbi. There's some good teams there. But I still think that Arsenal are going to be up there next season, challenging. I really do. It all depends on the signings. We've got to make good signings. But I think Arsenal, they made some good strides this year. And I do feel that next year they'll be up there challenging. I really do feel that. But the way people just keep dismissing it, like there was a United fan.
A lot of man hate us, though, Robbie, innit? That's what's going to happen. These men are going to chat shit because they hate us, innit?
I mean, there's a Man United fan saying to me the other day, "Oh yeah, well yeah, you're never going to have a year like this again." I said, "Well, hold on. When was the last time you lot did anything? When was the last time United challenged? You haven't challenged for years. So and you're not ahead of us. you're not. Man United are not ahead of us right now when it comes to like the league. You know what I mean? They lost quite a lot of games in the league. They got beaten 7-0. Got 7 put past them by Liverpool. Got 6 put past them by City. So listen, all of us as teams are below City at the moment. That's the challenge. How do we bridge the gap on them? And that's the big challenge for Arsenal. And it's a really difficult one because they've got Haaland, what they've added to a really good squad. And we don't know what they're going to do in the summer. Who are they going to add? You know, so, and they've got Guardiola. And that guy is, whilst he's still there.
Guardiola's on a mad be like,
You might have to rely on the lawyers.
I'm jealous. That's just the truth of the match. I'm so jealous. I remember the time when we and Andre Arshavin scored to make it 2-1. And Pep Guardiola come out and he did a post-match conference and he said, if I was to join any club inside England, it would be Arsenal because of the way they play football. And I was getting gassed. I was thinking, when Wenger goes, this is what's happening now. Look, it looks like Man City.
I heard a story at Arsenal one time, right? Somebody sort of insider told me that when Guardiola, if I remember rightly, like he'd left Bayern. Are you there? I thought it was fully frozen.
Yeah. I'm there. No, I'm there.
He'd left.
I'm intrigued. Inside information. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Now this is an inside story that I heard. Now I don't know if it's 100% true or not, but I heard this at the time. That Guardiola's representatives got in contact with Arsenal and said, "What's the status on Arsene Wenger?" Right, because Pep wants to get back into managing again. Remember he'd sort of gone on a bit of a sabbatical.
Yeah.
Right. And Arsenal said to him, the Arsenal representative said, "No, we've not got no intentions of getting rid of Arsene Wenger."
Oh, mad thing.
That's what that's what I heard. So
but this is what Wenger should have heard that himself. I said, "Yo, I'll go. I'll let it."
He actually was interested in the Arsenal job, and if we would have got him,
it's going to be
perfect. He'd have been perfect.
Very sticky for anyone else, Pep Guardiola, and we just got to give him that credit because what he's achieved as a manager.
He's the best manager in the world. Best manager in the world. Best manager of this era.
The best two football I think I've ever seen is this Man City side, the way they play football now, and the Barcelona team that we played against Messi, and we got absolutely ripped apart in the new camp. They're the two best teams, and they both come from Guardiola. I think.
I said to someone the other day, the best 3 teams I've seen in recent times is, like you said, the Barcelona. That team was the best. That was I remember they came to the Emirates one time, and I was just in awe watching them. But that team, this City side, as well, and I think the Bayern team with Hansi Flick.
Yeah, that was a good team.
They played some unbelievable football as well. Those 3 teams, you know.
Pep's on a different level, Robbie. But look,
you're gonna have to kidnap him or something.
You know, this is what I'm saying. Yeah, I was just saying the whole goes on a few more bite Manchester, some.
I'll tell you what, we need the lawyers, man. The lawyers, we need those lawyers at work.
Right? You know what though, Rob? An achievement is Arteta to win the league again, like Pep Guardiola, whilst he's that would just show what a great manager he can become, because he's got nothing to really go off apart from his Arsenal. And if he can really achieve something great, win a big trophy, get to the Champions League final, and even if we push on next season for the Premier League and we're there, we can really honestly say that we've got ourselves a great job. And I think he does got to take praising a lot of the stuff that Arsenal does, but at the same time, he's got to take a little bit of credit. I think he's a smart enough back. I think, you know what, in the nicest way possible, books up there. And it now I get from the team and the tree is that it does seem to be that Arsenal year out are improving, and he is learning from his mistakes, and he is ruthless. Look what he done with Aubameyang, which just shows he's ruthless, and he's willing to say to man, look, it's time to go in and bring in someone else in. So that's for me is Robbie. But I just want to say thank you very much for coming on. It's coming up to an hour. It was only 20 minutes, you know. When you on the Instagram today stretched on, but it's always a pleasure. And thank you very much for showing man to the channel.
No worries, man. No, it's great to be. Thanks for having me on, man. Nice.
No, honestly, man, you're a legend, bro. You know what I mean? Like I said, and I've said it many times, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't even be doing this kind of stuff. You give me the push. I remember at Aston Villa when you pulled me aside and said, "Yo, Premsy, you need to start your own channel." You get me? And from there, I don't think I've turned back. I've just took your advice. Came from anyone that's probably, you know what I mean?
That's
Just
brilliant.
getting a best man
Brilliant.
as well. Make sure you like on the video, subscribe if you need. See you next time. Peace and love.